Welcome to Reality Hunt Club. This webisode is titled Almost Rut Time. The reason for it is these are buck occurrences I've had during the rut. Here you're watching this video, these are two bucks that came in one of the first days. And the reason for this episode is there was so many times during the pre-rut that I was just had the gun up and I had the safety off and I was ready to shoot, and the deer come running out and it'd be a little buck. And this is a stud of a 2.5-year-old buck that we have. He's going to be a 10 point. You see his little crab claws at the end. He is just a stud of a deer. And sure enough, he come running over. He's run those does off that feeder, and he chased the does quite a bit. I've got about 3 or 4 more minutes of him. So sitting in this stand, and I like the pre-rut better than the rut personally, because the pre-rut, the does aren't receptacle to the bucks, and so the bucks are running around looking for the does that are the first ones going to come in. You know, it's like a bell curve, and 10% of your does are going to come in, and then 80% going to come in at one time, and then the 10% is going to be your last time. So those bucks are running around looking for those 10%. If you can find a good mature doe, like the way I like to find them is ones that have big fawns, the fawns that lose their spots the first, the does that have the fawns on the cameras the quickest in May. You know, those are the does that are coming in first, and that's the areas I like to locate. And there is one of those does in this area, and this 10 point, he's just a phenomenon. And Chuck actually videoed, I think this video here, he's sitting in there with one of our members who's 70 years old. And I think Chuck had to take the gun away from him because he kept trying to shoot the deer. He's like, but he's good. And Chuck's like, no, he's not outside the ears. We like 3.5 outside the ears, 4 points, or better on one side. He's not outside the ears. So hopefully this guy will make it, because I'm excited to see what he produces into next year. So let's see. This is another little 6 point we had video of. He has no brow tines, which kind of disappoints me. We've got that genetic up here, and he's just a young, good-looking buck. I'd probably say 1.5 years. He's got potential himself. And once again, here's our favorite 10 point. When you see him coming 175 yards and he pops out and he flips that horn around, you're like, oh yeah, here he comes. You flip this safety off, and sure enough, it shows up, and it's not a mature buck, and you're sitting there going, oh man, we haven't given this 10 a name yet, but he is a stud. I'm really interested in him. He's just easing down to that feeder. And the baiting law is really good this year in Georgia. We're seeing a lot of deer, and it really concentrates them in one area, and it makes those natural corridors and paths that much better when you have bait there. I mean, what's the difference in bait and a planted food plot? I mean, we've got both. I mean, we've killed 6 does and a couple bucks so far. It's not like we're slaying them because we're hunting over bait. But I've talked about that before. Let me see. This is interesting. You probably heard him snort. Little snorting reeds. This young buck ran that doe. That's that mature doe I was telling you about. See her fawns there? Those fawns are real nice size. And that's one of the mature does that I think was going to come in heat or estrus, whatever you want to call it, first. And he got a sniff and started snorting and wheezing and started chasing her around. Now this one I got excited because that's 175 yards. They come running by me, and then they popped out. You actually can hear me pop the safety off because I've got the gun out the window like this, and I'm waiting for the buck to come out, and I'm waiting, and he comes out, and it's a 2.5-year-old. So that is right there that's what I had most the first weekend in November was. You think he's coming, you hear him coming, you see him chasing, there goes the doe, there goes another doe, there's the buck, and 2.5, not quite big enough. But that's hunting, gets the old heart pumping. And now here, I got excited about this because this buck came in late in the evening, and I couldn't quite tell how wide he was, but he looks like he had good mass. He came in and got right underneath the feeder, and I'm like, oh man, he looks good. I don't think he's a shooter, but anyway, come to find out, it was that same buck that's been running around there pretty often. So he's finna flip his head around. You're gonna see what kind of stud it is. So obviously, I'm seeing deer. Saw a lot of deer, just not seeing the big deer. So camera did pretty good. I mean, this is low light. You can see me moving around a little bit, trying to get adjusted. I got to get a better tripod. Now he's gonna flick that head around, and we're gonna see him. He going town on that corn though. See, there he is. Real good mass. Real good mass. Nice little 6-point. Now, a buddy of mine borrowed my tripod. Didn't give me all the pieces back. There's a piece that fits in, so I couldn't video, and I was real upset about not being able to video on my spot. So I figured out I could lay the camera on the floor of the tree stand, the tower stand, and pull the canvas back on top of my jacket, and I could video out. But I had to bend down to do it, and it allowed me to video this. The reason I showed you this is because I can show you this. Now, first shooter buck shows up. If you see him, he's in the far back center, about halfway up the top. He comes out at dark, 175 yards, and don't know which deer that is. I could have shot him right there. It's still legal light, but I just didn't know which deer it was, and I felt like it was a pretty good deer, and I still don't wish I shot. I mean, I could have shot him. That's a hard shot late in the evening with trying to find your crosshairs in the scope and all that. And that's about he's walked himself into about 155, 160. He's fitting to tie up with that buck we saw earlier that was running the does off. He ties up with that. And I know these are dark, grainy photos, but I thought it was pretty cool. The camera did pretty good. You can actually see his posture, so you know he's a good-sized deer. And I don't know quite which one that is, but I could ground check that one and probably be happy with the horns, just because of his behavior. And the camera's starting to have a little problems. And let me see, we're about done. They fight a little bit and run off, and about 2 minutes later, they actually popped out at the feeder, and I couldn't tell which one was which, and it was really dark. Camera couldn't even pick them up, so I chose just to let them go. Hunt them another day. So this webisode was called Almost Rut Time. It's kind of like the way I feel when I'm sitting there trying to hunt. And hope you enjoyed seeing all these bucks and listening to me rant and rave about the pre-rut, which is my favorite time. Go to Facebook, like us, so become a friend of the Reality Hunt Club or ToxicGivens.com, and leave us your comments in YouTube. I'd love to hear from you guys, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see, stuff like that. And you always can email me personally at toxicgivens@gmail.com, toxicgivens@gmail.com. And I got some great videos coming up. I've been out for a little while hunting, so I missed about a week. So stay tuned, and we're going to put them up. And I got a great surprise coming up in a couple episodes. So thanks for watching Rally Hunt Club, and stay tuned.